What if you could create a fully interactive 3D product experience from just one prompt? In this video, I'm testing Claude Opus 5 to see how far it can go with a creative web demo. For the first prompt, I asked it to build a luxury watch configurator with a real interactive 3D model. Not a video, not a pre-rendered animation. I want the actual product to be functional, so I could rotate it, zoom in, change material, change the style, and interact with it directly in the browser. And then, with the second prompt, I'm going to take this first prototype and ask Opus 5 to transform it into a complete creative e-commerce landing page. So let me show you what it created from the first prompt. Before I start creating anything, I actually didn't have a specific idea in mind. I was just looking for my next topic, so I went into the inspiration section inside YouTube Studio to see if anything could give me a starting point, any idea for the next topic. And while looking through the idea, I found this one about building a 3D product configurator for a luxury watch brand. I wasn't really interested in copying the topic itself, but the watch illustration caught my attention. I thought the concept looked pretty cool, especially the idea of having a 3D product that you can actually interact with. So instead of planning the whole project or writing a huge detailed prompt, I simply took a screenshot of this image and gave it to Claude Opus 5 as visual inspiration. And my prompt was literally just, can you build something creative for a short demo based from this concept idea? That's it. I didn't tell it exactly what the watch should look like, how many customization options to create, how the interface should work, or even exactly what kind of experience to build. I want to see what Opus 5 will come up with from a very simple direction. And Claude decided to turn that small idea into a procedural 3D luxury watch configurator. It started creating the watch geometry, material, dial, bracelet, camera, system, interface, and all of the configuration logic. So after letting it build everything, this is what I got from the first prompt. And here we are right away. I really like the presentation. We have this very minimal luxury aesthetic, the large 3D watch in the center, the product name, and then all of the customization control on the side. But the interesting part is that this is not just a visual mockup. Everything here is actually interactive. So the first prompt gave me a pretty impressive functional 3D configurator. But at this point, it still feels more like a standalone product demo than an actual website. And I thought instead of starting over, what if I simply ask Opus 5 to take everything it already built and expand it into a complete landing page? For this one, I used ChatGPT to help me quickly structure the idea into a second prompt. I want to keep the same meridian style, the same interactive 3D watch, and all of the customization feature. But now I ask for a complete luxury e-commerce experience around it. So think like a cinematic hero section, collection storytelling, product showcase, photo animation, and a more complete website structure. I also specifically told it not to make this feel like a generic e-commerce template. I want Opus to be creative with the typography, layout, transition, 3D interaction, and overall scroll experience. And again, I'm not rebuilding anything manually here. I'm basically giving Opus 5 a second instruction on top of what it already created. So I send the prompt that it worked, and here what it turned the original demo into. Okay, this is already a completely different experience. Instead of immediately dropping us into the configurator, we now have a proper cinematic hero section. The same 3D watch is still here, but now it's being presented like the main product of an actual luxury brand. We also have a full navigation system at the top with section for the collection, anatomy, atelier, and the composer. And I really like how retrained the design. It still keep that dark, minimal, luxury feeling from the first version without adding too much unnecessary UI. As I scroll down, Opus also created an actual collection section with different watch model. So now the product configurator is becoming part of a bigger brand experience instead of being the entire website. And this another thing I want from the second prompt, more storytelling. And this is another, instead of only showing product, there are now this editorial section that talk about the construction and craftsmanship of the watch. It makes this it feel much closer to a real high-end watch brand. Here we get another large product focus section with the watch integrated directly into the layout. I like that Opus didn't just fill the page with normal card. It's using scale, typography, negative, space, and the 3D product itself to make each section feel different. I can still change the case metal, and you can see the entire 3D watch update in real time. For example, switching for the silver, finish to gold, completely change the look of the products. I can also customize things like the bezel, hour maker, and other watch detail. So this is not a fake configurator, add just for presentation. The control from the first prototype are still connected to the actual 3D model. And finally, there's a complete closing section with appointment in Geneva, London, Tokyo, and New York, followed by a proper brand footer. So with only a second prompt, the original 3D experiment has basically become a full luxury e-commerce experience. Of course, there are still a few things I like to improve before calling this finished. But considering that this entire landing page came from basically one main prompt, I think the result is already really impressive. There's a few areas I want to refine. For example, in the anatomy section, we can see that part of the bracelet get cut up during the scroll animation. I would like to fix that and make the whole explode watch sequence feel more realistic, smooth, and properly connected. I also like to improve the material section. The concept is good, but I think the presentation could feel much more elegant and premium, especially for a luxury watch brand. And instead of stopping here, I want to push this site further by adding a few more creative section, more interesting 3D interaction, and stronger scroll-driven animation throughout the page. The goal now is to take this first generated version and make the entire landing page feel more professional, polished, creative, and unique, while still keeping the luxury and aesthetic and the functional 3D experience. So before we finish, I'm going to give Opus 5 one more refinement prompt and see how much further we can push the final result. Okay, let's add the new prompt. So the prompt will be improve and refine the current Meridian luxury watch landing page without changing the overall brand direction or removing the existing functionality. I want this version to feel much more premium, professional, cinematic, creative, and production ready, with stronger 3D storytelling and scroll interaction throughout the entire website. First, fix the anatomy section. Right now, part of the bracelet become cut off or disconnected during the explode view scroll animation. Make the full watch and bracelet remain visually complete and realistic at every scroll position. Improve the explode animation so each component separate smoothly and accurately with better spacing, camera framing depth, lighting, and transition. Nothing should clip, disappear unexpectedly, overlap incorrectly, or feel broken. Improve the material section significantly. The current 3-core layout feels too basic. redesign it into something more elegant and luxurious with a more editorial composition, larger material detail, etc. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but all the prompt will be on the description. So let's try this prompt. Okay, it's finished. Let's take a look at the new version. And already this feels much more polished. The overall luxury direction is still the same, but now the website feels more complete and intentional. As we scroll down, we now have more storytelling between the main section instead of jumping directly from one feature to another. And the collection section is still here, keeping the different watch model integrated into the experience. Now, this is one of the sections I specifically want Opus to fix, the anatomy section. Before, part of the bracelet were getting cut off during the animation, but now the complete watch stay visible and properly connected as we scroll. And then it smoothly transition into the explode view. This look much better. The different components separate while still keeping the structure of the watch understandable. And the camera framing feel a lot cleaner than before. Opus also expanded the storytelling around the watch itself. We now get sections like 214 part and 5 bench, 1 watchmaker, which help make the site feel more like a luxury brand experience instead of just a product page. The atelier section is still one of my favorite parts. Here we have this huge close-up of the dial, and I can still interact with the different finish. And if I change the option, even the internal visual of the watch can completely transform. And this is probably the biggest improvement from my refinement prompt. The original material section was basically 3 sample cards, and I feel like it was too basic for the rest of the website. Instead of showing every material at once, each one gets its own moment. We have this square scale alligator with this large product image and more detailed presentation. And I really like this little detail too. When you hover over the watch, you get this zoom lens effect, so you can inspect the material and finishing much more closely. It's a small interaction, but it makes the whole section feel a lot more polished and premium. And Opus also added more sections to break up the experience. Here we have this section about what the watch does while you asleep, with the 3D model coming back into the storytelling. I like this because the watch isn't only being used in the hero or configurator anymore, it becomes part of the entire page. And eventually, we arrive back at the composer, where all of the original functionality from the first prototype is still available. I can still customize the watch in real time. I can change the case, material, dial, bezel, maker, and other detail. And the 3D model update immediately. We can even change the bracelet completely, going from the metal bracelet to this darker strap. So even after adding all of this new section and animation, Opus keep the original configurator working. And finally, we finish with the appointment section for Geneva, London, Tokyo, and New York. Yeah, I think this version feels much more complete. And I think this is a good place to stop. We start with nothing more than a screenshot I found inside YouTube Studio and one extremely simple prompt. That became a functional 3D watch configurator. Then the second prompt transformed that prototype into an entire landing page. And with one final refinement prompt, we fixed some of the issue, improved the anatomy animation, completely redesigned the material section, add more storytelling, and push the overall experience much further. Of course, if this were going into real production, there are always more detail I could continue refining.
But what I really want to test in this video was how far Opus 5 could take a simple creative idea without me manually redesigning or coding every part of the experience. And for that, I think the result is pretty impressive. Let me know what you think of the final version and what kind of experiment you want me to try next. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.